Easy now, people. Happy Tuesday. It's your boy Si, aka the Mancunian. Welcome to Gunner Talk. First and foremost, important news. I was going to do. Sorry, I'm a bit out of breath. Just getting old and fat. I was going to do this yesterday, the day before, and I totally forgot I had to be back up at my mum's in the lakes. So I just ran out of time. So this has really been my first chance to get it done, so I do apologise, because I do like to do the match analysis ones pretty quick after the game's over. For those of you guys asking about Big Sue, it's sad that my content now is not really Arsenal based. No one really cares about what I'm saying about Arsenal. It's all about Big Sue. She's alright, guys, back at home. We've just been today to the hospital. They wanted to just check in a thyroid and a neck and see if the cancer's there. Thank God it's not. One place where it isn't, thankfully. So that's been a big bonus today. And now it's on to the chemo this week. Radiotherapy's over now, so hoping that's, we've been in, she's had a big needle in her head today. I had to leave the room for that. I'm not a fan of needles. Which might surprise you because I have got a bit of a needle dick, but I have to deal with that, because I need to piss. But needles that aren't part of my anatomy, I stay well away from, because they're just not. I had a bad experience with them. You don't want to go into it, but just not for me. But that came back, and the radiotherapy seems to be doing the trick, and she's a lot brighter this week. So God bless you guys for asking. It really keeps the spirits up. A lot of you guys know I'm a pretty strong person. We're a pretty strong family as individuals and as a collective. But I'm one of those people, if I could be dying myself, and if you ask, are you alright, so I'll always say, yeah, I'm fine, mate. And sometimes you're not, are you? And that's one thing this has all made me think about a little bit is, there's a lot of people out there, and I've sort of thought about my mum when I've drove away, and, it's a few hours home, and I sort of think about it, and I think, not being big-headed, but what would she do without me? And it made me think about people that don't have somebody for, to help them, whether it's elderly, just you've never had a family yourself, no kids, no grandkids, whatever. And just dealing with these things alone. And it just made me think about people dealing with stuff alone in general. And you've got to speak out. My mum's up here in the middle of nowhere, and she'd go through stuff by herself if she could. And there's a lot of people like that where they see it as a sign of weakness to ask for help, and it's not. It's a sign of strength, if anything, in my opinion, because it takes a big person to admit they're struggling, and it's not an easy thing to do. I'm sure plenty of us have dealt with bits of depression and things like that. So I just wanted to say to any of you guys that are out there, if you are struggling with anything, I'm a pretty straightforward guy, and there's not really a grey with me. It's always black or white, but I am pretty empathetic and caring. So if there is any of you guys out there and don't know me that well, but you are at a point where you just want somebody to listen, please come and drop into my DMs and have a chat with me, because I appreciate what you might be going through. Maybe you're in a similar situation to me at the moment where somebody you're close to is dealing with cancer or some other illness. Please always feel free to talk to me, and I'll always try and make you smile through it. Even if it's maybe not what you want or need, I will always try. And I just want to say thank you to you guys that have been well-wishing and saying nice things, because like I say, I'm alright with this, I've been dealing with it, and then when you sort of sit with yourself for 5 minutes, you think, am I dealing with it that well? Is it a lot to take on? Am I out on my depth a bit? And I think I probably am, but yeah, just thank you to you guys, because like I say, sort of when I do have a weak moment that I don't feel like I have many of, it's comforting to know that there's somebody there or people that care. Even if you don't take advantage of it, it's just nice to know that crutch is there if you want to lean on it. So God bless you guys, and if I can ever do that for any of you guys in return, I'm eternally grateful, and I would always pull my tripe out to help you out. Even if you just want to laugh at my stupid face, I'm more than happy for you to do that. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit of a tear in my eye, but it means a lot to me, it really does, and I think a lot of us out there in the world could do with just being a bit nicer to people. and that's where I stand on it. So thank you to you guys, because like I say, I probably don't always seem grateful. I'm just a man of few words a lot of that. I know you'll find that hard to believe because of these videos, but I am a very pretty closed book. So it's nice that when these people that sort of don't let you get away with it and keep pressing, and that's what some people need. So God bless you. And guys, get behind the Gunner versus Cancer stuff. Please. I'm going to try and get a link up or something, and I'm going to see if I can get involved in some way, maybe of helping those guys achieve what they want to help reach the goals that they want to get to, because it's such a worthwhile cause. And I've sort of felt that way about cancer of late, is that it's ripped its way through my family. My nan, my granddad, my other nana and granddad, my great auntie and uncle. It's claimed a lot of people in my family. It's pretty much in our family, if one of us is dead, that's pretty, unless it's something haphazard and random, it tends to be cancer. And you sort of feel sorry for yourself quite a lot of the time. But in this day and age, with something like cancer, you can't feel sorry for yourself, because it's one of those things now where it's that prolific that everybody's dealt with it now. It's rare that you come across someone that goes, oh no, there's never anybody died in my family of cancer, or I don't know anybody that's had a dealing with cancer. So you sort of don't get a sympathy vote anymore. It's everyone's just like, get on with it, because we've all been there. So it is a strange one, but I would like to help get involved with those guys, and sort of put my money where my mouth is, because obviously with what we've been through over the years, it's a massively worthwhile cause for me, and one that does a very important job. So sorry guys, I just wanted to get that bit of serious stuff out of the way. I know it's a bit of waffle, but maybe if there's just one of you guys listening that sort of rings a bell with, and pricks your ears up a little bit, and it's done the trick. Let's get on to it. Good old Gunner Talk. Sorry guys for that sad sort of interlude there, an opening. I do apologise. Arsenal versus the Geordies, the YI man Newcastle. And we started with a win, guys. It's nice to sort of have happy, joyful tears at the minute, and just tears that don't involve Arsenal, whether they're depressive ones or not. And joyful tears can be had for about Arsenal at the minute as well. It's great, isn't it? There's plenty to be optimistic about at the moment. Still some negative Nellies out there, but you're always going to get them guys. There's some people that could have all the love in the world, all the money in the world, anything anyone could ever want, and they would still find something to moan about. You're never going to please those people. They're never going to be happy, so don't even attempt to. Just let them be them. Some people, are at the happiest when they're miserable, so just don't let it affect your mood. If you're feeling really good about the Arsenal right now, stay feeling really good about it. Don't let it move you off that at all. Really don't, because nobody will be rocking me off my perch at the minute. I'm loving it. So yeah, we were at St James's Park, first game of the season. I thought it'd be a real tricky first game, and it turned out to sort of be that way. Maybe not as tricky as I thought, but still not an easy place to go. And I think it'll get harder the more evolved their side becomes this year. It'll get a lot tougher. So we were at St James's Park. I'm not calling it that Franking Stadium or whatever, the Franking Stadium that Ashley's turned it into. It's St James. It's not the Sports Direct Arena. It's not Sports Direct FC. It's St James's Park, and always will be, in my opinion. And just what a fabulous place to start the season. I think I always say, you guys know I've worked in football for a long time, travelling up and down the country and across the world doing it. It's the best football in town, in my opinion, in this country easily. And I always say, when people say, "Oh, Manchester's, you're a Man, you should say that about Manchester." No, because it's not the same. Oh, you're an Arsenal fan, you should say that about London. No, it's not the same. And I always say, you go to the Metro Centre in Newcastle, on a Sunday morning, say, and you'll see a man in his 50s, 60s with his wife, his daughter and his grandkids, or his son and his grandkids, or whatever. The full family affair out for the day. And this man will be in a full Newcastle strip, even with the AstroTurf trainers on. That's how much these motherfuckers love this club. And I've never seen that anywhere else. I've seen people in a full kit, but not in the 60s, and with the AstroTurf shin pads a lot. He's going into Matalan with shin pads on. I just love that idea. And that's Newcastle for you. I love that city, absolutely love it. And it made me think as well, like last week when I was up there, staying there, and where our accommodation was near the hospital, and out of the bedroom window I put those pictures up where you could see St James's Park, and it made me think, is this a big part of why it's such a, as I see it, it's a huge football in town, is that everybody seems to love the club. It's not like you get a certain section of football fans, it seems everybody loves Newcastle United that's in Newcastle. And I thought, is it because a lot of them grow up being able to see the stadium? You know, it's visible from a long way away. We were a good few miles from it, but you could see it clear as day. And although there's a lot of city centres with grounds central, you can't see them from that far away. And I thought, what sort of a large area of Newcastle wake up seeing that stadium? It's a big chunk. So it made me think, is that why it's such a big football in town? And I love that. I absolutely love that. I wish I could wake up every day and see the Emirates or see Highbury. That'd really spur me on, I think. And you know, and kids that think I want to play there one day, it's got to play a big part for me. So that's, I know I'm going off on a tangent a little bit, but it's just something that made me think about, you know, being up in Newcastle last week, and I thought it was kind of strange that I've spent the last week there, and then Arsenal start the season there, and you know, hopefully this is a fresh start for everybody, for me and my mum, you know, and the rest of the family, and for Arsenal family. Hopefully this is a fresh start and the sign of things looking up, so we end that at Newcastle, or it starts at Newcastle, whichever way you want to look at it. But yeah, starting 11, let's crack on with the Gunner Talk. We went 4-3-3. Leno in goals, Ainsley Maitland-Niles at right back, Chambers and Socrates centre back pairing, Nacho at left back, Guendo and Xhaka base of midfield, Willock in just that more slightly advanced midfield role, and then Nelson left wing, Mickey right wing, Oba down the middle. And let's get into rating these guys. Leno, it's just as solid as ever. He's going to have a big season this season for me. I don't see how he doesn't. I thought he looked really good last year, and he's more than I thought we were getting, definitely. I'd be surprised if there's fans that are disappointed in him. You know, a lot of us were led to believe, you know, I'd got in a few brawls with people last year and they were saying, oh, look how many mistakes he makes. And I was like, do you watch the football? Do you actually watch German football? I watch a lot of it. He's not as bad as you're making out. But it's just that thing, isn't it, where it's the only stick they've got to beat us over the head with, and they're clinging to it. And you know, oh, wait till how many mistakes he makes in the Premier League last year. How many did he make this year? I think 4. Alisson made 3. And some people say he's, you know, close to the best goalkeeper in the world. So, and I don't think there's a ton in it for me when I look at other goalkeepers and I look at Leno and I think, how much worse is he than these guys? You know, looking at like De Gea, he's someone who I would say is the best goalkeeper in the world up there with Oblak. And going off his season last year, was he a better goalkeeper than Leno? Not for me. I would say there was only Alisson in the Premier League that you could rate higher than Leno last year. And I've seen so many people saying these little things of top 5 players in positions in the league, and he doesn't feature in anybody's top 5 goalkeepers, and I take that as a feather in my cap, as in my goalkeeper bothers you. Because there's no way, if you're being realistic, he's not a top 3 goalkeeper in the Premier League. There's not 3 goalkeepers better than him at present. Ederson up in the air at the minute, but I would only have him and Alisson ahead of Leno in the pecking order from what I saw last year. And I think it's disappointing that we let him down, because we should have had more clean sheets going off his. If all the defenders had put in performances like he did last year, we'd have kept more clean sheets than anyone. He deserved so much more credit last year, and I think it sort of helped him go under the radar. I don't think he will this year. I think you'll all realise what an important part of our side he suddenly is. And just for me, it's nice watching the game where I forgot how long it's been since I watched us play the ball, you know, across the back line, and when it's not quite working out and there's nobody there to link from the defence to the midfield and you have to go backwards. Now last year for me, I'd rather we just kick the ball out of play than play it back to Ospina or Cech, where you know, you were watching it and the ball goes backwards and you were just like, tell me when it's over, you know, like watching a penalty shootout. It's like, oh, just let me know when he's kicked it and it's safe, or he's took a touch and it's not gone all over the place. You know, and I was like that for so long with those two. You can add Fabianski to that. You know, Szczesny, you know, although a lot of you think he's a miles better goalkeeper now, which I don't believe. I think he's pretty similar. He's just in a much better team. I have no real trust in any of them guys, whereas with Leno now, I sort of enjoy the ball going back to him. Well, not enjoy it because it still makes me nervous, but that's just because of the position where you go, if he cocks this up, there's nothing behind. But apart from that, I have every faith in him, and it's a big thing I notice. He's very comfortable on both feet, not just one. you know, he's more two-footed than Xhaka is. There's going to be plenty of Xhaka propaganda in here, guys, but you know, he's very two-footed. He doesn't mind it on either foot, and he's very comfortable on the ball, and it doesn't matter how much pressure he's under, he doesn't flap. And the way we're playing football, that new rule, you know, with playing the ball in the area from dead balls and things, I think it's going to be a big part of it. And I think we will lean on him, and I think he'll lean back. I think he'll be great. He gets a 7 out of 10 for me, just because he didn't have a ton to do, but what he did have to do, he did very well. I saw a few people saying Newcastle didn't pose much of a threat, and I thought they did pose quite a potent looking threat. I thought Almiron and Joelinton looked pretty dangerous. I just thought we nullified it, and I could only really think of one chance in the game where he looked like getting beat, which was that cross that came in and Joelinton just flicked it, and you could see, you know, Leno at the front post, and it's like, if that gets glanced in the back post, there's nothing I can do about that. I can't, you know, marshal the entire goal. I've got to pick a side to be in. The ball's coming from over there, I'm more at the front post than the back. But apart from that, he looked equal to everything to me, even the shots that went wide. I always like to see that, you know, when it's a real fair shot and you go, ooh, another foot inside, and that was going in. It's always nice to still see the goalkeeper dive in and you go, he had that covered. And I feel like that a lot about Leno. So yeah, it's a real positive for me. Let's say 7 out of 10 for Sunday. My boy, Ainsley, the Don, the young prince. When are you guys going to learn to just stop hating on him? You know, it makes me laugh. There's a couple of people that played on Sunday, and some of you guys go, he's actually not that bad, is he? And it's like, there's so many more reasons to get behind Ainsley Maitland-Niles than there is some other players that you guys get behind. You know, like Mustafi's at the point of no return now. A lot of you seem to be getting that way with Ainsley, and I can't really get my head around why, because I think he's brilliant. Obviously, he's not a brilliant right back, because he's not a right back, you know, and I'm going to keep saying that. And, you know, him playing there is something you should give him credit for, not something that you should use as, like I say, you know, a stick to beat him over the head with and call him out and say he's not very good. Because like I keep saying, and I will keep saying, you ask somebody else to play out of position there for a season and a half and see how long they stick around for, especially if they're not playing particularly well there and people are getting on their backs. He is a big man, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, a big man. He's got some broad shoulders, and I honestly think it was a bit like when he went down in the game on Sunday. My mate that I was watching it with went, oh no, not Ainsley. And he's not a big Ainsley Maitland-Niles fan, but I think then it's set in his head that he went, fuck me, is really important. Now when I think about it and the other options that we've got, what would we have actually have done without Ainsley Maitland-Niles? It's what I've been saying, guys. You know, very similar to comments on somebody else in a minute. He's much more important and valuable than a lot of you realise, and some of you spend time seeing other people as more vital to our chances when they're not. They're actually hindering it, and we've got guys here that you berate weekly that are doing everything they can to help improve, and, you know, even putting his own career aside, which is for me what he is doing by playing at right back for us and putting in a shift there every week. And I thought that was his best all-round performance on Sunday, and I've enjoyed watching him a few times, but he was defensively very, very sound. They got nothing out of him down that side for me, and like I said, I don't think that was because Newcastle didn't pose a threat. I just think we were very good at nullifying it. And I thought it was his best all-round performance I've ever seen of him at right back. Maybe he's starting to see himself as a right back. I don't know, but Clive PAFC mentioned it the other week about, you know, he's like me. He's a very big Ainsley Maitland-Niles fan and thinks that we're being a bit ungrateful about him. And he was saying, even though he's not a right back, you can see that he's learning to become a right back. You know, whether he's interested in it or not, he's doing it, and it's something to be commended, not badmouth him over. And his work for the goal, that was like prime Bellerin. Well, more like prime Kanchelskis, wasn't it? He was absolutely, he's like Kyle Walker down that. He was motoring, and I didn't think the pass was that haphazard either. He was just on it in a flash. Whereas the Newcastle player suddenly realised this isn't coming to me. Ainsley Maitland-Niles was like, well, I knew this wasn't coming to you, and he'd gone. And once he gets in full click and full stride, he's an impressive machine. He's not for catching. I think it takes some serious. I think there's only probably 5 or 10 players in the league that could keep up with him. I really do. yeah, and the way he just nicked the ball, and then he did what we all used to, the only thing Walcott had in his locker, which was to pump it 10 foot and chase it because you've got the pace. And don't attempt to dribble the fucking thing because you'll make a mess of it. Just hoof it and get after it like a greyhound, and that's what he did. And then, you know, it made the other defender sort of think about coming over, and he just went, oh no, I'm never getting there. He sort of backed off towards the goal, you know, and he sort of held the space between Ainsley and Ober. And then you're looking at Ainsley in full flight, and then the camera panned out and you could see little Ober there, and you're going, oh, just get this pass right, we're in here, just play this pass, just make this pass. And I was so impressed at how calmly he just hooked that ball in over the defender. And like I say, he was at pace. The ability to do that sort of thing isn't as easy, you know, if you haven't played football, it's not as easy as it looks. These guys make it look easy, and it was just such a perfectly weighted pass. You know, I was nervous that Ober would end up offside by the time he played it. He didn't. It was beautiful and cracking finish from Ober, which we'll talk about in a bit. But it just sums Ainsley up. And I thought, how much would you guys appreciate him more if he was doing that without the defensive stuff? If he was just playing as a winger? Makes you think. It started to make me think. I always saw him as a box-to-box. Just a high-energy midfielder doing a bit of the dirty work and then helping advancing play. And now I start looking at certain parts of his performances and I go, just how good might Ainsley Maitland-Niles be as a winger? Because he's got all those attributes. If you take out the having to defend bit where, you know, as a right winger you have to defend, but not as concentrated as you do when you're playing right back, when it's just you're helping cover a man, I think he could be quite a superb winger. So I just think the world's at this lad's feet, and I hope we give him the world at Arsenal, because I think he deserves it. And yeah, he was an 8 out of 10 for me. I just thought he was very, very good, very good. The next man, Chambers. Again, I should turn this into the I told you so blog. You know, that game Simon says, well, maybe you guys should start doing what I say a bit more, because I seem to keep being right on certain things. Not saying I'm perfect, I'm close to it. You know, as close as humanly possible, obviously, but God didn't do bad when he churned me out. I think he put extra effort in. It's a joke. It's a joke. I'm joking. But yeah, really, really solid. And I told you guys, you know, in the summer when you were all saying, oh, we just got to get rid of him, he's one player we'll get 20 million for, and I was like, trust me, he'll be worth more than 20 million to us this season. I don't know what you're expecting. Very similar to the comments about people who were pissed off at the lineup on Sunday. You know, I put that post up 2 weeks ago where I said this will be what we go with against Newcastle, and the amount of you that DM'd me and went, you're full of shit, mate. I can't believe you'd pick that as your best 11. It's like, I'm not picking my best 11, I'm picking the 11. It's not about me, I'm picking what I think Unai will go with. How many times do you, what you think or what you want to be the starting 11 is the actual starting 11? Bet you it's a very low percentage, unless you are Unai Emery. And what me and him would pick are two very different things, but I don't find it hard to see where he's coming from. The evidence was there. You know, we had last pre-season with him. You saw at the start of last season, did he throw Torreira straight in? No, he didn't. Did he throw Leno straight in? No, he didn't. So why do you think he's going to throw Nicolas Pepe and some others straight in? He's not, because it's not in his way to go about things. So why you gave me abuse, I don't know. And was I far wrong 3 weeks ago? No, I got two players wrong. Lacazette and Ozil, and I think, you know, probably might not have been right on Ozil. That's, you know, after seeing the stat that I don't think he's ever started at Newcastle, probably wouldn't have played, but Lacazette would have if he was fit. So, you know, I got my line up, you know, 90% right, and I wasn't shocked by that. And it amazed me at how many of you saw your house. Oh, Pep's not starting. Oh, this is that. That's not that. And it's like, what the fuck? So some of you would have started Pep yesterday. On Sunday. And then what would you have done if he'd have snapped his cruciate? You'd have hammered Unai. You'd have gone, you wanky, you should have given him a few weeks to warm up. You can't have it both ways, guys. And you're the sort of people that I'm starting to just lose any interest in, where I just can't be bothered conversing with you anymore, because it's just a waste of time. You're completely irrational and don't ever look at things in a common sense way. You just, it's what I want, and that's what I should get. And the world's not like that. You're probably very spoilt as a child, in my opinion. I don't know, but yeah, Chambers, I thought he was really, really good, really good. And I wasn't shocked. It's what I expect from him. You guys know that I think he's pretty close to being as good as Holding. And it's a tricky one. People go to me, he's nowhere near as good as... Well, based on what? You've not seen enough of Holding to tell me he's a really good centre-back yet. You've seen glimpses. Well, I've seen those same glimpses in Callum. We could both be equally as wrong. We could both be as equally as right. We'll see, won't we? The proof will be in the pudding. But, if we're arguing over who's better out of Chambers and Holding, that's not a bad thing, because it means they're both probably quite good. So... I think if he's sort of our third or fourth choice centre back this year, and somebody that we could use in centre defensive mid and at right back if we needed to, I think he's a cracking player. And I said that the other week. I said he's probably one of our most important squad players, because he's one of the only genuine squad players we've got. And if he keeps putting in performances like that, he should probably stay in the first team for me until he puts a foot wrong. And yeah, there was something else that I noticed about Callum, because like I say, I'm a bit of a fan of him and I enjoy watching him play. He's not faultless, he's not world class, I don't think he will ever be world class, but he's better than your average bear for me. And the thing I noticed was his clearances. We've had it where we've got defenders that try and play too much football and it gets a mess, and then we play ourselves into trouble, and then you get defenders that just blindly hump. It was the difference between Leno and Cech for me. It's like Leno will take some chances and he probably will lose the ball at times and it'll cost us a goal, but 90% of the time you trust him and it goes somewhere, whereas with Cech it's just sort of, he can't control the ball with his feet and then he's just humping it anywhere will do, because it's better than playing yourself into trouble. And I sort of noticed that about Callum, is that if you look at his clearances, they're not just hoofers. They look like hoofers, but if you actually pay attention, he takes a look up, he looks for the empty space in behind the back line, and then he plays it into that gap. If he can't pick out one of our players, he makes it so the ball's not instantly coming back at us, and I think that's a massive attribute that will go under the radar for a lot of people. Like I say, we've been a mess with that, where Mustafi was brilliant for it, where he'd be under pressure and he'd just completely scuff a clearance and it'd go like 15 yards to the feet of Salah, and you go, oh fuck this, he's coming back twice as fast and it's a goal. Chambers doesn't do that. He might, I'm not saying his passing's perfect where he will always pick a man out. Everybody's going to put a stray pass in from time to time, but his clearances are always just in behind their back line, where they sort of have to go back 10 or 20 foot to then come again, and that just gives us that bit of time to get our shape back. So I'm really enjoying Callum, and I hope he has a massive season for us this year and he's not just a bit part player, because I think he's better than that. But he, along with Ainsley, gets an 8 out of 10 for me for Sunday. I thought he was great. Socrates gets an 8 out of 10 for me. I thought they were really, really solid, those two. And like I say, people will say Newcastle didn't pose much of a threat. I thought they posed plenty of threat. I just thought we dealt with it really well. And he's another one I think we'll lean on massively this year, and I think we'll have to. And he's someone I don't think gets as much credit as he should. He's not a world-class centre-back, and he's definitely on the decline from the player he was at Dortmund. But is he still very good? In my opinion, yes. He does have his flaws, we know what they are. But besides those, he's very, very trustworthy for me. And a big attribute to his play for me is that he plays his own solid game, no matter who he's partnered with. It could be a car crash like Mustafi, or it could be someone that's pretty, grey and boring like Chambers, that you just know what you get. It doesn't really matter how flamboyant or piss poor of a player he plays next to, he still puts in his same shift. And I was thinking about him and Louise as a partnership, those two, and then Turney and Bellerin either side, or maybe Turney and Ainsley Maitland. And I was thinking, that is one of those centre-backs that people have, pairings that people have sort of mocked and laughed at and gone, car crash waiting to happen. When you look at it a little bit more, you go, this could actually be a shit-housing double act that will send fear through the spine of any striker in our league. Because if these two get it together and it works as a partnership, I could think it could be a real hard, tough man, tough to break down centre-back line, especially if we've got pace on the wings as the wing-backs. I think it could become really solid. I don't want to get carried away, because I know what David Luiz is and what he's capable of if he's not, if his head's not in the game, but I think these two could be, I don't know why I'm whispering like, I'm going to let you into a secret, guys. Socrates and Louise could be really good. I don't know why I'm whispering like it's a big secret, but I think they could actually be really, really good together. That's a proper fucking old school, no nonsense back line, but although it's no nonsense, Louise can fizz a pass. And then that brought in a different aspect of the game to me, that maybe then that frees up a body in midfield. You guys know what I'm talking about, maybe. But, it's something definitely we have better options, I feel. If we can just get a sort of Holding, Chambers, Socrates, Louise, and then maybe Medley or Mavropanos in the wings, that's a lot better than what we had last year. Mustafi, Kos, Socrates. Oh dear. Yeah, big upgrade. I don't think people feel like it's that much of an upgrade, but I think it's a massive one. I didn't really talk about Louise the other day. That £8 million peanuts. That's nearly bordering on a loan fee. I think it's a really good bit of business, even if it turns out to be a shit. He turns out to be shit. I still think you could look at it and go, that was good business. So that's that. That's Nacho. Let's get on to Nacho at left back. I don't want to talk about him too much. There was no major fuck ups. He's just not very good. He's just below average now. So he gets a 6 from me. I thought the defence were very good, but it didn't shock me that all the trouble we were under came from his side. And I think teams, we need Turney back quickly, I think, because I think teams will look at Nacho Monreal and go, we can double dick them down this side, especially a team that's got any sort of pace or trickery. I think we're in a shitload of trouble, and the sooner that's not in the equation for me, the better. So yeah, he gets a 6 out of 10. Like I say, no massive calamities, but just not good enough, just not the requisite level for me at all. First yellow carded player, my old mate, granite between the ears, Xhaka. And he was average. I've seen people saying he was dog shit. I've seen people saying he was really good and held the team together, and I'm sort of in the middle. This thing where people keep telling me my captain, my leader. Look at the first 10 minutes of that game. He gave the ball away more than there was minutes on the clock. That's not a leader, guys. You can say, well, he does this at 70 minutes when we've scored a goal. Wow. Look at how things start. That's where you need a leader. If you're on a contract doing some fucking painting or whatever, or some restoration, no one wants to be the guy that has to sand everything down for a week, but then everybody wants to be the guy that does that final lick of paint when they come out and go, oh, it looks brilliant, that, and you go, yeah, love, honestly, it's been hard work. And poor Pete's over there getting his brew that's caked in fucking railing dust and speckles of paint from where he's been flaking it off for a week. That's how it feels to me, that when it actually matters and you need a captain, this guy's nowhere to be seen. When it's dead easy and it's just, keep your heads on, lads. Any cunt can do that. That's not impressive to me. He's as far away from a leader as I could honestly find in our team for me, as far away as possible. And I think he's a very expendable player now. Whereas last year, I understood that as much as I dislike him and I think he's useless, or bordering on, useless is harsh, I don't want to be mean, just because I don't like him. Average. But I understood that we weren't a strong enough squad where we could say bye to him. Whereas now, we have so many more options, and I think he is someone that's in a lot of trouble. I saw that rumour the other day. Somebody asked me about it. I hadn't seen it up until then because I've been busy, saying about Inter and might have come back in with 50 million. Would you sell him? And I was like, no, was my instant reaction, because I thought he probably does have some use still. I wouldn't want us to leave ourselves really light in midfield now we've just got to a position of strength. But then I thought about it again, and I thought, no, actually, I would sell him. And mate was like, why are you saying that? I said, because this will be the only chance we get to get 50 million for Granit Xhaka. Because for me, his value is going to plummet now to the point of where we sell him or he walks away for free. That's the only way I see this going. So I would actually sell him, and I'd leave ourselves light till January and try and make Ceballos permanent, or bring somebody else in. Even an academy kid, Burton or Ollie Inca, get them to step in for a bit. And you play Torreira, Ceballos and Guendouzi or Willock as your midfield three. I think we could quite happily survive without him. It'd leave us a bit light, but I don't think he brings enough to warrant a place in the midfield. I don't. Like I say, he was just a fucking accident waiting to happen in the first 10 or 20 minutes. Constantly giving the ball away, getting caught daydreaming. Really dumb fucking yellow card as well, again, just at a point where he doesn't need to cause a foul. And like I say, they're the things that a leader doesn't do. because you've got control of your emotions, and that's something, like I say to you guys, he might have some leadership qualities, but he hasn't got the intelligence to not to restrain himself, restrain himself and withhold himself from doing those things. He just goes, I'm a captain and I want to win the ball back, wallop, and he nails someone. It's like, dickhead, we're going to go down to 10 men, and with VAR this year, he's going to get away with it less and less, and I honestly do think he is, should be the last person we're leaning and putting hopes on. I really do. He's just so slow. He's just never. We are at our weakest when we're on a break and it breaks down, and then they come back at us, and we're all over the show. And the biggest problem for me of that is that our midfielders get completely bypassed, because if they're involved in the attack, they've not got the pace to come back and help in the defensive side of it. And for me, he's got the amount of times I see it where that he loses the ball and then they go on a break, and you don't see him in the picture ever again, because he just gives up because he hasn't got the pace to get involved. And it just made me think, I thought, if he, taking into consideration all of the negatives I have against him, if he was a 9 out of 10 defender, I would actually like him, because he's slow. And Torreira's not a pace merchant, but he's brilliant at defending and breaking up play and winning the ball back and reading a situation, and Xhaka has none of that. And I just thought if he had 70% of that attribute that Torreira has, I wouldn't mind him. But the fact that he plays the way he does, he slows down even our attacking play to a point of walking football. He'd have to be really good on the defensive end, and he's not. So I just don't see a place for him in our 11 anymore. I really don't, and that's not just me being hateful. You got a good glimpse of it in the first half. Him, Willock, and Guendouzi. And if you're looking at those three and going, he's the most important midfielder, I seriously worry about you. Because not in my opinion. They both do what he can do if you put them in his role, and they do more. So yeah, he gets a 6 out of 10 for me, and it was only because he picked up a bit in the second half that he gets a 6 for me. But just the same issues I have with him, and they're not ever going to go away. They're not, because he just hasn't got it in him to change enough. Pass to Guendouzi on the left hand side. Pass to Guendouzi on the right hand side. He's gonna tackle, maybe jump and cross, but now we've got him, we can rock and dance. Pass to Guendouzi on the left hand. You guys know I love this boy. I even made a chant for him. 2 words. Spectacular. Wow. Really enjoyed watching him on Sunday. Really did. I'm sure stats might tell you a little bit different, but I felt like he only gave the ball away once in the entire game. Mind-blowingly good for me. When I'm looking at Granit Xhaka, and I think Guendouzi's done the same as me, where he's looked at our lineup and gone, with my style of play, I want to be in this first 11. Who's the guy that I target? Whose place am I going to take? And I think he looks at Torreira and goes, no. He brings some... Torreira for me is the one mainstay in our midfield, because he's the only one that can tackle and proficiently, consistently, provisionally good at it. It's Torreira. He's the only midfielder for me that would start every game. And then the other 2 positions, certainly, I see it as that's a central defensive midfielder, and that has to be Torreira because we don't have one. Or maybe you play Chambers there if he's out, but then the 2 in front. And I've said modern football, you need a central defensive midfielder and 2 box-to-boxes, and Granit Xhaka doesn't fit any of those, whereas Guendouzi, he's a very good box-to-box. Like I say, I think he's looked at Xhaka and gone, I'm taking your spot this year, mate. I can do everything you do and more. And I think you saw that on Sunday. So much more dynamic, so much more athletic. He's not got any real pace, but it's the way he moves, it's the way he goes about things, his confidence now, the way he's asking for the ball all the time. How many mistakes is he now making? A lot of you guys, that's why, still a lot of you that don't rate him and don't think he's very good, which blows my fucking mind, but you must be watching different games to me. But how many times was some of you last year, he gets caught on the ball, and I was saying, because he's young, guys, he's young and he's not used to this pace of football. How many times has he done that this season, you know, in pre-season and now first game of the season? Didn't happen. And I think it'll get ironed out of his game the older he gets, and the more used to the pace and the, you know, everything that comes with the Premier League. That's a mind-blowingly good dynamic midfield performance for me, and he would be my man of the match. 9 out of 10. I thought he was head and shoulders better than everybody else on the pitch. I thought some other players did really good things and were enjoyable, but not consistently for 90 minutes like this kid was. You know, you can say others didn't play 90 minutes, but if they'd have all played 90 minutes, the starting line, he was the best by miles for me. And I think he's getting close to a nailed-on first choice. You know, I'm sort of whittling down now, and I'm going Torreira, nailed-down choice for me. Guendouzi's now making it very hard to not pick him, and then I'm sort of looking at Ceballos and Willock and going, well, it's one of you two for that last spot. That's how I see it at the minute, and I honestly don't think it'll be long between Unai sees it that way, because I don't see how he can't, with the, you know, the facts and the evidence that are presented in front of your face. It's just that it's smack bang obvious for me. And yeah, 9 out of 10. I thought he was real top class. Willock, I don't like him in this 10 role. I think it, you know, being asked to sort of be the attacking midfield, I don't think it works. I think he's like Guendouzi, where he should just be a bit involved in defending and attacking. He's not. We don't need a centre attacking. We don't need a number 10. You know, I keep saying this. There's no teams really play with a 10 anymore. We're the only ones that do it, and we do it to accommodate Ozil, and I don't think we should anymore because he's not good enough. You know, and Ozil giving it everything is good enough to compensate for it. But like I said the other week, if he's not 8 out of 9 out of 10 out of Mesut Ozil, it's at our detriment, and it comes at a cost. If he doesn't put it all in, it means we're a man light in midfield. We get walked through and we get beat. That's the process I see happens every week, in my opinion. Willock for me is an absolute sleeper. You know, my videos, like I said, I'm not going to bullshit you lot, because there's evidence, because there's videos there. If you go back and look at my comments on him last pre-season, I said not even close. He's the first I'd be flirting out on loan. Doesn't even look remotely like he'll ever be a first teamer. Don't know what his mum was feeding him last year, or his dad, you know, not to be sexist. You know, she must have been putting fucking Miracle Grow in his socks overnight while he was asleep. I don't know, but Jesus Christ, he's filled out into a... He looked like a boy last year, now he looks like a man, and the thing that makes him look more like a man is the fact that he's playing like a man, and he's playing like the main man. And it's really blown me away. He's been the massive, real positive surprise of pre-season. But it's just made it interesting that now a lot of you are going, well, I'd pick Willock over Guendouzi, when I think Guendouzi's quite a bit further down the line than Willock. And I think Willock this year will be what Guendouzi was sort of last year, and Guendouzi will now be this year what Xhaka was last year. That's the progression I see happening. You know, maybe a bit of wishful thinking, but I just think they'll play the way into it this year. I don't see, if they keep up the good work they're doing, how they don't become mainstays of the first team squad. And it's just really nice to see a dynamic, athletic, box-to-box midfielder. A bit more athletic than Guendouzi. He's got more pace, he's got more engine, I think. Maybe not more engine, but more athleticism. And I think he's that little bit trickier. If you had to pick one sitting deep and one in centre attacking mid, it'd always be Willock in centre attacking mid for me. I don't think Guendouzi would suit that role at all. You know, it could be worth trying, but I don't see it. And he's just so strong and so clever. You know, I loved it that where he bullied Jimmy Jumbo. Jimmy Jumbo. I just get like hillbilly mode when I say his name, because it just makes me think of knocking on a caravan and asking, can he come out and play? What's his name? John Joe Shelby. That's the kid. When he bullied him back off the ball when he lost it, and then just went and won it straight back. I love that. And then when I was sat in the hospital before, I seen somebody put that video up where it showed Willock doing it, and then Emery going, fucking, I love that. And I thought, good, he's noticing. It's not going under the radar that what these kids are doing. And like I say, for me, if it was the other way around, it was Xhaka who'd have just gone, come on lads, where's the shout for man on here? What the fuck? Because he knows he hasn't got the ability to go and get it back. Where Willock, he just sort of, fucking, that's my ball, mate. And he just smashed him back off it, and it was great. It was like, that's what our midfield has been missing for so long. And I think hit between him and Guendouzi, I think it's a really exciting combination of sort of, you know, is that the future of our midfield for another 5 to 10 years? It could be, couldn't it? And they both bring very important things, but in very different ways, very different players, and I think it's a lovely mix, and it's really delightful to have both. And he gets an 8 out of 10 for me. Willock, I thought he was top notch. I don't think he's dropped below an 8 all pre-season. I really don't. He's really blown me away, and like I say, somebody I wasn't expecting anything from. So, Joe, my little list here of favourites. You could be going on it at some point, but keep it up. Don't get slack now because I'm bigging you up. The second person to pick up a yellow card, Mickey. I keep asking the question, I said it on Sunday. I'd love to know why Emery keeps picking him, because he's the very opposite of Willock. I can't remember the last time he put in a 6 out of 10 plus. I cannot remember. I can't remember the last time I enjoyed watching him play, and he's not somebody I particularly dislike. I think we should sell him, but I don't dislike him. Mustafi and Xhaka, for me, there's no way back. Whereas Mickey, I know there's a very good player in there, and he's just not putting it in. And he's one where I think now is he in the Mustafi bracket, where his confidence is that shot. We just need to stop picking him or sell him, one or the other, because I don't see it improving. If he's being asked to play his way back into form, I just don't see it happening. I can just see it going worse and worse and worse till he's just completely shot as a bloke. And I've started to, it's not a thing like fans losing faith in players. Off the pitch, it's maybe a big deal, but not on it. But these worrying signs for me now. It's like Ober's one of his boys, and I noticed it near the end of the first half where he was giving the ball away that much that we got on a counter-attack, and Mickey's wide open on the right-hand side, and Ober sort of looked at him and went, fuck that, I'm not even bothering, because I'm just going to end up wasting energy because he's not going to come back to me with the ball. So he just tried to beat a couple of players on his own, and I thought that's what worries me, that your teammates are now looking, going, he's killing all of our attacking play, and he was. That first half was fucking one of the worst first halves from somebody I ever remember, really. He couldn't do anything right. Not even a 1 yard pass. He was sort of falling over, fucking it up or kicking it out of play, and you're like, oh god, me. He honestly gets. Well, the thing he goes up, because what made me laugh is the best pass of the half was from Mkhitaryan to Aubameyang, and he was in one. It was a sublime pass, and he did one little flick that got a move going, but that doesn't overshadow for me. Very similar to my comments on Xhaka, he can nudge the ball around nice under no pressure, but that doesn't outweigh the other 20 things that I can tell you he does really badly, and Mickey's getting that way for me now, where I just don't see how he starts again, and it makes me worried that he'll start again at weekend, and I think, how? What is he watching? What is Emery? He's obviously one of his favourites, and work rate wise I kind of get it, but he's putting nothing down on the pitch at the minute, and that's really frightening for me. And he is, along with left back, he is our biggest issue in the first team, and I think it's now just a case of we just wait and cross our fingers that hopefully he gets an upturn in form, or Pep's ready and we roll with Pep, and then we just use Mickey as a squad player, which for me, I think at this part of his career he is. I don't think he should be a starter, and I didn't think that last year. He got better in the second half, but he had a fucking mare, and there was no way of coming back from that first half. It was just an absolute stinker. 3 out of 10. I'll give him 4. I'll give him a point each for the 2 good passes in the first half, so he goes from a 2 to a 4 out of 10. I won't be too mean because I'm in a good mood. Nelson, another one, picked up a yellow, bit of a silly one, but it's not too influential as a winger. What do I keep telling you guys? He's getting fitter and fitter. He'd not had a pre-season the same length as everybody else. He'd never had any time with Unai until, because he was away last year. Same with Chambers. Give him a bit more time than you do the rest, and he'll come up trumps. And I'm still not seeing the finished article, but each week by week, he's just looking more settled, more in command, more in control. And all, not everything came off for him on Sunday, but it's the type of player he is. He's sort of, for me, already at the point of Iwobi with a much higher ceiling. And that's no discredit to Iwobi. I just think his ceiling is at centre attacking mid, not as a winger. Reece is a winger, so he has a much higher ceiling as a winger for me. And, I'm sure there's people that aren't sold on him. But I think he'll grow into this season. I think he'll be quite vital come the end of it. I really do. Along with Martinelli, I think he'll get a bit the same possibly, or Saka. I think there's definitely room for somebody else to step in and do a bit. But I was really impressed with him. His ability to, sort of play slowly or quick is a massive, massive bonus for me. And like I say, it's just giving him time. I think he just needs a little bit of patience from us, and I think he'll come up trumps big time. I was really impressed at just the types of things he was trying, and then the confusion that it causes the other team, and they have to start making decisions as soon as he gets the ball. It's like, well, he could come past us all, or he could just spray a 30-yard ball. We're not sure. So he brings a lot of value in that way for me. And like I say, he wasn't perfect by any means, but I like what the building blocks we're starting to see with him just stack up. And he gets a 7.5 out of 10 for me. I didn't think he did a ton wrong, although not brilliant. I thought he was good enough, and maybe he gets rated a bit higher because of the shit show that was going on the other side in Mkhitaryan, but he was good for me. I thought it was a real nice bit of progression again from the last pre-season game. 7 out of 10. Last but not least, in the starting 11, about my blood clot Yang, or whatever fucking Nobby calls him. He's the most on it guy in pre-season, like I said. Senior. He had Willock doing it for the young boys and Oba doing it for the old lads, and it's just another top all-action display from him again. Didn't get a lot on the ball, but when he did, he was making a difference, and he didn't stop him making runs, and that's what I love about him. Is he keeps busting a gut. He doesn't just, very much like Lacquer, in that we've got two workhorse centre forwards that they don't just hands on hips and sulk. They make something happen for themselves. And it was a lovely goal, so calm, and I think it was possibly Andrew on the Arse blog cast, and he was saying how it felt like it was a sort of Perez dink ball into Henry, and it did sort of feel like that, where as soon as he got the ball under control, you just went goal. And it was a really underrated finish, I think, because it was tricky. The keeper was on him in a flash, and he just fucking have that. So nonchalant, great finish. And we needed it because it didn't look like the goal was quite coming, did it? So massive. And he got through a real shift for me, and he gets an 8.5 out of 10. He was just slightly better than everybody else, but not quite as good as Guendouzi for me. So that was the starting lineup. Like I say, we went 4-3-3 in the first half. It wasn't very good, was it? It was a bit of a tough watch, but I think if you were realistic, you were probably expecting that. We've got a bit of a hodgepodge team at the minute. It's going to be like that for the first month or so of the season. Our season, like I said, is going to start like that, and we're just going to go whoop after Christmas for me. So I said if we can sort of take 4 to 7 points from the first 4 games, I'd be really happy. So to start with 3, I was delighted. But the centre-back pairing was very solid in the first half for me. Once it got settled, they didn't really look in any trouble. And again, for me, the thing in the first half was I sort of in my head went Project Youth 1, Seniors 0. Because I was looking, the 2 wing-backs, and I thought Ainsley Maitland-Niles is better than Nacho. I looked at the wingers, and I'm looking and I'm going, Nelson's better than Mkhitaryan. And I was looking at the midfield, and I'm going, Gwendo and Willock and Miles better than Xhaka. And Xhaka especially got totally overshadowed in that midfield, and I found it really embarrassing. These kids have come in, and they're making the older lads look a bit daft for me. Obviously Mickey's stinker. You can't get away from that in the first half. We didn't get any subs at half time. Let's look into the second half. 64th minute, Ceballos on for Willock, which I thought was mean, because Willock didn't deserve to come off for me, and I just think maybe he'd run out of gas is why he took him off. Ceballos, he was all over the place, wasn't he? I think he was a bit Terry Triad, and just nothing really came off for him. He gets a 6 out of 10. He needs to settle in. I think he needs to be a bit more confident in his ability and in the way he plays the game, and not try so hard to impress, because he'll impress naturally the way he goes about things. You don't need to try. Just be yourself, mate, and you'll impress us. But I love that. I saw a lot of you clocked onto that little bit of fuckery that he did where the ball had gone out and their player tried to just get it back out to the goalkeeper. He's already out of play and he's still kicking it for them. It's like, that's what we need. That's a leader. They're the sort of people we need that actually know how to do clever things that waste time and stuff. And that's more leadership qualities for me than Xhaka. But I love that. But 6 out of 10, he wasn't particularly impressive, I didn't think. 57th minute we got the goal. I should have mentioned that, and like I say, it was a great goal. Top work from Ainsley, and cracking finish from Oba. 70th minute, Pepe. We finally got to see him. Who's that coming off the bench? It's Pepe. Came on for Nelson, and again I sort of looked and I thought, how is Nelson getting hooked instead of Mickey? But whatever. I don't know how. He might have been saying to Unai, "Fuck mate, I need to come off. I'm blowing out my arse." You don't know, do you? But I thought it was odd who he picked to come off. But maybe that's how he's going to do it. Is he's going to lean on his seniors this year and whip the youth players off, although he trusts them from the start. I saw people trying to say, "Oh, Pep, he's not that good." Oh, look at him. Daniel James has come on against Chelsea and got a goal in 30 seconds or whatever. Oh, your man Pepe, your record signing. Look at him, he's shit. And it's like, what are you basing that on? 10 minutes of football. And I was really encouraged, surprisingly. Not surprisingly, but I was encouraged by what I was watching. I'm someone that's watched him quite a bit last year. And it was my mate who was sat with me. He knows nothing about him. And he went, fucking size of him. And I was like, I know, mate, he's not your typical diminutive winger. He's a big lad. He's more of an oversized winger. He's not going to get fucked about. And I can't wait for... I hope we get in that situation where we're trying to kill the last couple of minutes off the clock and we're winning in a cup final, and I can just imagine him in the corner doing an Henri like on the corner flag, just taking the piss until someone just levers him, and it's just like, you're not going to bully him off the ball. He's too much of a unit, and he's got a lot of pace and a lot of trickery, and I think he's someone that we should be really excited about this year, because I think he's going to do a ton of fucking damage. I really do. Once he's got Bellerin behind him down that side bombing, I think we're in for a real treat. Maybe Ober and Turney on the other side, or Turney and Nelson, who knows, but it's really exciting. He gets a 6 out of 10 because he didn't do enough to judge, but those just little, when you look at something you go, this guy's got it. Just the little shimmies and things he did, and I think we're in for a real treat. I think he's what a lot of fans needed. A bit like Nelson in pre-season last year, where you saw those couple of clips where he did really lovely little bits of footwork and just made people look like dickheads on the floor. And everybody got really excited. I think that's what Pep will be this year, to lift a bit of spirits. Some of you guys that are really down in the mouth, and he's the sort of player where he, like when Ronaldo first came to the Premier League, he'll get you out. Even if we're getting beat 6-0, he'll do a few step overs and rinse a couple. You go, I'm not that depressed, and I think he'll be that guy for us this year. Last substitute, 84th minute, Martinelli came all a bit too late for me. On for Mickey. I'm not going to rate him because it's not fair to rate a guy on 6 or 7 minutes. Not that he cares what I rate him, but I rate you highly, mate. And he just looked in really industrious again, just hard working, puts a real shift in. And he's someone that I think we're going to get a lot of value out of. I could see once we get into games where, like I say, we're sort of 1-0, 2-0 up maybe with 20 minutes to go, we'll launch on Saka and Martinelli, or Nelson and Martinelli, Nelson, Saka, however you want to do the combinations, to just run the shit at it. So I think they'd be really good at it. And I think he's the sort of player that you would look at. They were always the players I hated playing against, that were fitter than me, that I just knew, even though I'm better at football, you're going to just bug me enough to put me off my game a little bit. And he is one of those. I don't think anybody would ever relax at it coming up against him, because he's just so industrious. You just fucking do your head in. So yeah, that was the game, guys. And the second half, I was impressed, really. I was a bit worried at first, because we always make me nervous when we try and shut up shop, because I don't think we're particularly good at defending. But then that's me judging us off last season's defence, not this year's. So it was really nice to see him sort of go, right, we're shutting up shop. And we actually managed to do it, and pretty successfully. I felt like once the sort of Ceballos change happened, that was it. It was just like, we keep the ball and we fuck around and we just see the clock out. Now this is a big 3 points at first game of the season. And we did it really, really well for me. Really, really well. Never looked in any real danger. And we coasted to victory, in my opinion. and a clean sheet and an away win. That's fucking, we've played one game this season. That's all we managed in the entirety of last season. And with our second 11 pretty much, I knew it was like I said, a hodgepodge 11. And then when somebody actually put up an 11 that didn't start, and you go, fucking hell, like, pretty much it was really an entire second 11 apart from Aubameyang and Socrates, maybe. You looked and you're going, well, Martinez in net, Bellerin, Tierney, David Luiz, Holding, Torreira, Ceballos, Willock, Ceballos, I had a brain fart, Ozil, Pepe, Laka, maybe Martinelli on the other side. None of those started, and that's a pretty fierce 11. So I thought that was really impressive when you take a step back and look. I was really happy, and we roll on, don't we? Really good start to the season for me. Saturday, Burnley at home. I'd have been a bit worried if it was away at home. I think they'll try and shit houses, but I don't think it'll work. I think the atmosphere will be really good at the Emirates on Saturday, and I think the players will be really up for. There's a different mentality for me this year, whereas I think we've now got players that fancy themselves, whereas I think we've had a few coasters the last few years that have just been getting away on. He's not got enough choice to not pick me, and that's one of my big issues with Xhaka and a couple of others, where they've been resting on the laurels rather than improving, and now they're going to look to improve. Now we've got better options, and I think it's too late for me. You should have done it. You should never get relaxed. So relaxed, it's you're not at work anymore. You are at work, lads. And you get paid a lot of money to do it, so you shouldn't ever get lazy like that, and I think him and a few others did. And I think now they've had a rocket up their arse. I mentioned about Willock coming on for Ozil in the Europa League final. I think it was a big statement from Unai saying, look, dickheads, you guys are on the mega money, you have to justify it. I don't have to justify replacing you with these kids, because people will get behind it more and they'll give them more of a chance. So I think there's a lot of work on there. And then I sort of looked at somebody asked me about the same 11. Do I think we'll go with the same 11 against Burnley? No, I think he'll change it a little bit. Just looking at players that we've got now, Holding and Emile Smith-Rowe. I couldn't watch that game last night. I don't know why, I couldn't seem to find it. But they both played for the under-23s last night, so they're not a million miles away. Tierney, I said he was still at least a month away. It sounds like 4 or 6 weeks. I said he was back kicking a ball, but that's a long way from actually kicking one in a Premier League match. So another month or so for him. Very similar with Bellerin, October the same, so you've got to be looking at after that really before he ever really plays any part. David Luiz is ready, Laka is ready, they didn't risk him in that game, but he'll be up for next week. Torreira will be ready now, match fit, as I said, and Pepe and Ceballos are now ready, so there's a few there. Luiz, Laka will definitely go back in the first 11 for me. I think Torreira will start next week, and possibly Pepe and Ceballos, and maybe Luiz, maybe all 5 of those start next week. It'd be really interesting, because he's got a tricky job now with people that he's trusted in pre-season that he's been able to trust in that first game, and then mixing in players that he probably, like we all do, think are actually better quality players. He's got a bit of a job on this year, Unai. It's going to be tricky for him to juggle it all, I think, and it's a nice juggling act to have. Somebody else has said about fans still moaning. I said it at the start. You get miserable millionaires. I used to work for a very miserable billionaire. You get these people, just nothing will ever make them happy. You could do everything you wanted for them and it'd never change. So don't worry about it. If you're not worried, I'm not worried. We shouldn't be worried. You just concentrate on yourself and enjoy the people that are enjoying what we're seeing, because I think this is the brightest part of the last 10 years for me, and an actual, rather than just short-term fix that like you quickly feel optimistic. This is a long-term optimism for me now, where I'm looking at what we've got and what we're doing, and I go, we're setting ourselves up here for the next 10 or 20 years of success, not just trying to create something that'll last a year and we limp to next year and then we worry about that next year. We're sort of going, we're now putting in the infrastructure that means we won't have to come back to these, bit of blue sky thinking and meetings and having all this shit 2 years down the line. We've put the marker down, so I'm really impressed by that. So fans still moaning, do one, I ain't got no time for you. Third kits, I said I was waiting because I really like that third one, and it's taking me all my time not to. I've had the other two in my shopping cart on the Arsenal Direct now for a couple of weeks, and I was sort of yesterday just straight away added that third one, and then I was like, right, what am I going to do that I feel I deserve to go and splurge, the best part of 200 quid on free Arsenal shirts? I don't know, but I don't feel I've been good enough yet. Maybe I ask my mum and see if I've been a good enough carer, whether I deserve them or not. I'll be investing. It doesn't sit well with me spending 200 quid on football shirts, but they're just so nice, and I don't really want to pick one because there's something about all of them I really like. But it's another good job by Adidas. All three kits are really, really good and a massive upgrade. It doesn't make you play any better, but it makes you feel better. And like I said, if you feel better, maybe you do play better. So there could be something in it. And the fans getting hyped about the kits. The players must love it. They must do. They must enjoy seeing the fans getting really excited about seeing them in these new kits. So, maybe that feeling does make a difference. Who knows? But yeah, that was that stuff. I think I've gone through everything, guys. Oh, just an interesting one that me and my mate. This state of this Barnet. The beard's not got too bad now. It's sort of calmed itself down, but it's going incredibly ginger. But the hair, guys. My mate, I just got a text from him, haircut, and I was like, what? Haircut? Yeah. That's what he's been calling me of late, haircut, which is nice of him. It's better than tramp, as I've been getting called from people walking the other way down the street. But yeah, and I thought, haircut, what's this about? And then I saw him and I was like, ooh, we had that rumour, that came out about Mustafi, and then it came out again last week that he said, Unai said, you're not part of my plans, mate. You're just not up to it. I've given you a year. I can't rely on you, mate. He wasn't in the squad at all, was he? In that's got to be the final nail in the coffin. So I'm praying Mustafi goes in the next couple of weeks because I can finally get a haircut and have a shave. It's really selfish, but I think for all of our points of view and his own, it's the best thing for everybody, I think, concerned, is that he moves on. Because I don't think there's such a large segment of fans now that won't ever trust him again, and I'm one of them. I don't want to be like that, but I am. It would take him, I think, 2 years of being a world-class centre-back for me to go, alright, I trust you again. I'm not a very trusting person, so maybe that's just me, but that's how I feel about it. But I thought it was very interesting he left him out. And I think that signifies the end for him now. El Nene's got to go in these next 2 weeks, and I would like to see somebody else go. I would. I mean, like I said, I think a left back's got to go now. I think that really makes no sense if we keep them both. It's a tricky one. It's because we've got both wing backs out. I think if we had Bellerin back then, I wouldn't mind, because I'd say, well, we can play Ainsley at left back if we were desperate. If Kolasinac or Nacho got injured, whichever one he decided to keep. But that's now an interesting one, because there's been mutterings that Sociedad or whoever it was are interested in Monreal, and then you look at what's going on with Kolasinac at the minute, and you go, might he start going, I don't want to play in London anymore, my family are at risk. It's a real tricky one at the minute, that situation. So I can't tell which one of those two are going, but I'd be amazed if they're both here at the start of September. I'd say El Nene's got to go. And I would love to see the back of Mickey and Xhaka, but I don't see that happening. I think they'll both be part of the squad. Unless an offer comes in that an offer you can't refuse. And like I say, I think if 50 million plus some add-ons or whatever it was that they were talking about in Inter, I'm sure it's complete bullshit. But if that was true, I'd be really disappointed in the club if they didn't sell him for that sort of number, because he's not a £50 million player. And I think Inter Milan would realise that pretty quickly after splurging like we did. Oh yeah, we've spent 35 million on this guy. Oh no, he's not his shit. Whoops. And I still look back at that window. We spent 90 million on him and Mustafi pretty much. It's like, if that was ever a reason to liquidate the club, that was it. Somebody should have just come in with some yellow tape and put it round the fucking Emirates and gone, it's a hazard. It's a hazard, this place. There's been too much poor business gone on, and we're condemning you. But yeah, that's it, guys. I feel like I've gone through everything. I don't think there's anything else I'm missing. No, that's it, guys. Ty signing out. Take it easy. And please keep retweeting, sharing, liking, thumbs up in, subscribing, all the rest of it, guys. Really appreciate it. Hope you've enjoyed and it's not dragged too much. Good luck, and I shall see you later in the week. Take it easy.